Mermaids have been a huge part of folklore since ancient times. Mythical creatures with a fish-like torso and a human appearance in their upper body. However, to many cultures in the past, and even currently, mermaids are not just mere lore, but they're believed to be real living or sometimes spiritual creatures. Mermaids were also spoken about in books such as the Holy Bible and the Book of Enoch. In this video, we'll be uncovering the mysterious history of mermaids. I'll be covering accounts of these elusive creatures ranging from current times all the way back to biblical times. If you're unaware that mermaids were also documented in the Bible, I'll give you a brief rundown of what the Bible says about one of these creatures. In the ancient Mesopotamian pantheon, a being known as Dagon was worshipped as a god. If we take a look at the description of Dagon, he looks like the classic merman, which is the male version of a mermaid. Dagon was also spoken about in the Bible. In the Hebrew Bible, Dagon was characterized as the chief god of the Philistines, who lived in Canaan from 1200 to 600 BCE. According to passages in Joshua, Judges, and Samuel, Dagon was worshipped by the Philistines in temples at Gaza and Ashdod. So is Dagon actually a merman? Well, according to his description, he is. But I believe the correct way to answer that is by looking at the several encounters with mermaids and mermen throughout history, so we understand what these creatures actually are a bit more. Many mermaid sightings involve a quick look at a distant creature, as when Columbus saw mermaids off the coast of Haiti. But some reported mermaid sightings include a number of eyewitnesses who weren't ocean-crazed sailors. In 1603, a mermaid was spotted off the coast of Wales near Pendine. A farmer named Thomas Reynold first spotted the creature, and he then called others over to watch the mermaid for 3 hours. William Saunders, also from Pendine, examined Reynold and the other witnesses. The story was credible enough that in 1604 an image was created to depict the mermaid. It described her as a monstrous fish that appeared in the form of a woman from her waist upward. This next story is about mermen, which are the masculine counterparts to mermaids. In one 13th century Norwegian manuscript, mermen were described as monsters. The monster is tall and of great size and rises straight out of the water. The text reads, "It had shoulders like a man but no hands. No one has ever observed it closely enough to determine whether its body had scales, like a fish, or skin like a man." The monstrous creature was also a sign of doom. Whenever the monster has shown itself, men have always been sure that a storm would follow. There are also stories originating in Africa that may give us more information on mermaids and why they were also worshipped in the Bible. In Africa, mermaids are known as mami watas. In Africa, a mami wata is a water spirit venerated in West, Central, and Southern Africa, and in the Afro-American diaspora. Mami wata spirits are usually female but are sometimes male. The appearance of their hair ranges from straight, curly to woolly black and combed straight back. Most scholarly sources suggest the name Mami Wata is a Pidgin English derivation of Mother Water, reflecting the goddess's title, Mother of Water, or Grandmother of Water. In Zimbabwe, repair work was being done on a dam. But then strange reports began to come in. Construction workers began to report seeing strange creatures in the water that looked like pale-skinned humans with dark hair and fishtails. Now, these were some very tough guys that were working on this dam, so it was certainly out of the ordinary when many of the workers quit and refused to continue with their task. The men grew terrified when these creatures began attacking them, and it is even alleged that some workers were pulled into the water to never be seen again. After the men told their superiors about their encounters, a new construction team was hired. This time, this construction team was composed of non-local workers that had no idea about the lore of the town they'd be working in. However, they too reported encountering the same creatures, ultimately causing the new workers to quit as well. In order to complete the project, a deal was made with the tribal people of the land to perform a ritual to ask for permission from the creatures in a way to allow this project to be done. Mami Wata is known for abducting her followers or random people while they are swimming or fishing. She takes them to her spiritual world and/or underwater. If her followers return back to the human world, their clothes are dry with a newfound understanding of the spiritual world. So this may explain why the Philistines worshipped Dagon in the Bible, since mermaids are said to possess supernatural abilities. People also still worship Mami Watas in Africa as we speak. Intense dancing accompanied by musical instruments such as African guitars or harmonicas often forms the core of Mami Wata worship. Followers dance to the point of entering a trance. At this point, Mami Wata possesses the person and speaks to him or her. But as we have seen, such as with the attack on the Zimbabwe workers, the peaceful nature of these beings may not actually be completely accurate. Rain Mellart used to think that mermaids were nothing but fairy tale fiction. However, this would all change for him when he was stationed with the US Navy on the Indonesian Morotai Island, where he would witness a group of local fishermen dragging something utterly inexplicable out of the water in their net. Intrigued by the commotion generated by the fishermen in question dragging a squirming object out of the water in their net, Mellart approached them to see what their catch was. At first he took it to be a shark splashing around and thrashing in the net, but as he watched it seemed to morph into something far stranger. 1 minute it seemed human, and then next it appeared to be about a 7-foot-long shark. Completely windblown, Mellart asked the fishermen what they had caught. They then nonchalantly replied, "We catch mermaid again." He took a further look at the creature, and believing it to look far too human to be anything but one of his fellow men, he told them to let it go, but they refused, saying that they wouldn't directly unalive the creature, but that it would succumb to such a fate on its own. Mellart watched in horror as the men dragged the creature further up onto the beach, making sure that it was tangled up in the net beyond any hope of escape. The entity, which Mellart named a fish woman, attempted to escape its captors for a further half an hour, before eventually giving up and weeping like a baby. Fearing that he was watching some kind of bizarre atrocity, Mellart ran to his local mission in order to get help. But by the time he returned to the scene, the fishwoman had succumbed to its fate just as the men had said it would. Now studying the body of the entity, Mellart described the creature in great detail. Its hindquarters were apparently exactly like a dolphin, complete with a double fin at the end. But from the navel up, the being's torso was said to look as human as any person you'd meet on the street. As is often the case in descriptions of bona fide merbeings, it was nowhere near as beautiful as one would expect a real mermaid to be, seeing as Mellart clarified that the creature's features were coarse and it apparently had a long, pointed nose. The merbeing's skin was described as being a lovely pinky red of the most beautiful shade one could imagine. Its body was said to be covered in a just about even coating of thick hair, seemingly running all the way down to cover its cetacean-like tail, if my interpretation of the source material is correct. The locals told a now likely curious Mellart that the creatures lived in large schools and were apparently terrified of contact with humans, as one might think they would be if Mellart's story is any indication of the behavior of humans in response to the presence of the Piscean humanoids. When boats approached them, they would always dive to great depths, vanishing into the water before they could be caught. At night, these fishwomen would pull themselves up onto the beach using their hands, which apparently had 4 fingers and 2 thumbs. The islanders had apparently grown accustomed to their presence and thought nothing of hunting them as they would any other marine animal. Sirens were mythical creatures of Greek and Roman mythology, who were depicted as being half woman and half bird. They were fabled to have lived on an island and to have lured sailors to their demise in dangerous waters with their irresistible song. However, the Book of Enoch explains them to be something much different. Sirens in the Book of Enoch have been described as women which were once human, that were cursed by God. This is due to these women being responsible for co-creating demons alongside the Watchers. In the Book of Enoch chapter 19 verse 2 says, "And the women also of the angels who went astray shall become sirens." Sirens are mainly considered to be evil mermaids instead of the half-bird, half-woman creature. In fact, the first documented mermaid sighting is nearly 1,000 years older than the Greek siren. These particular mermaids, known as sirens, are also known to sing hypnotic songs that lure people to their demise into the dark, gloomy depths of the sea. It makes more sense that the women were turned into mermaids, since people still are seeing these beings currently. Other than anecdotal reports, physical evidence of mermaids is minuscule. This may hint at the likeliness of these creatures actually being spiritual beings, as they are said to be in Africa. Essentially, this puts mermaids in the same discussions as other paranormal entities. And for those that believe the same thing in Western culture, they call these entities marine spirits. Marine spirits are spoken about in the Bible. The word marine can also be translated to water. So essentially, marine spirit means water spirits. Beings such as Leviathan are marine spirits. Leviathan is known as the king over all of the children of pride. I'll explain Leviathan in far more detail, but first you need to understand marine spirits. The legion that Jesus exorcised from the man in the tombs were marine spirits because they caused the pigs to rush into the sea. Contrary to African beliefs on these marine spirits, they are clearly not peaceful entities, but they are demons, or at least demonic in nature. Africa's Mami Watas are the same as marine spirits. Both beings are known as water spirits and not physical creatures. This would make sense due to the fact that the women that the Book of Enoch tells us were cursed to become sirens mated with interdimensional beings, and their offspring were also interdimensional beings. So why wouldn't the mothers of these monstrous beings also be in between the spiritual world and the physical world? If mermaids truly are spirits and not physical, they can appear whenever they please since they are supernatural. This alone explains why people in the days of old, and even still in different parts of the world, see mermaids as some sort of deity. Perhaps it's their elusiveness and mystery that intrigue people, or more likely the worship of these entities must have come from their supernatural nature and their strong, deceptive nature that the Bible warned us about. The Bible told us that the devil and his associates are extremely deceiving and will trick a lot of people into thinking they are benevolent beings, and that couldn't be further from the truth. As I've mentioned previously, Leviathan, which is the most renowned marine spirit, is known as the king over all the children of pride. A common belief about marine spirits is that they can make people very wealthy. In return, these people must serve the marine spirits that they received this success from. Interestingly, Leviathan isn't just a metaphorical description for a marine spirit, but it is also described as being a real living creature. The Bible tells us that the Lord will slay Leviathan in the sea. Isaiah 27 verse 1 says, "In that day the Lord with his severe sword, great and strong, will punish Leviathan the fleeing serpent, Leviathan that twisted serpent, and he will slay the reptile that is in the sea." Another verse tells us that God actually eliminated Leviathan. Psalm 74 verse 14 reads, "You broke the heads of Leviathan in pieces and gave him as food to the people inhabiting the wilderness." The Leviathan spirit, however, is a demon. This is similar to how the offsprings of the fallen angels and human women became demons after they were eradicated in the Great Flood. Some suggest that the spirit of Leviathan causes stubbornness and rebellion against God. Marine spirits, mermaids, sirens, or Mami Watas, whatever we call them, we can all agree on one thing. This is a very interesting topic, so I'd like to encourage you to subscribe for more content, just like this. Also, I am hosting a giveaway. In this giveaway, 10 lucky winners will win a free Book of Enoch. All you have to do is like this video, subscribe, and share this video. Once you've completed these steps, comment "Done." We'll host